this video we're going to talk about the Turkish Grand Prix.
It feels awesome, you know, almost like a relief that I actually won a race this year. It's been a while, and it was not an easy race win with these conditions.
That first win for Valtteri Bottas, obviously he's going to Alfa Romeo next season, so the fact that he's managed to get a win under his belt in his final season for Mercedes is quite significant. The fact that you achieve a victory with your team before going to your new team for the next season. Beforehand maybe felt a bit of pressure to deliver and perform to get that first win of the season, but now that he has it, it's kind of like a weight off his shoulders.
We maximized the result. Valtteri was a little bit faster, but of course this whole weekend we were a bit behind in pace compared to Mercedes. As a team, you know, to finish second and third here was a very good result.
Yeah, I think Verstappen was quite complacent to take P2, especially considering that it put him just ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the championship. You could see he was kind of just accepting of the fact that Mercedes and Bottas had more pace than Red Bull. Second place is obviously still good.
And this race was all about just managing the tires to a certain lap, where you then had to pit for another set and again bring that to the end, which wasn't the most fun to drive because normally you want to push a little bit more.
Yeah, because the track was kind of slippery, as I said before, naturally you have to change to the intermediate set of tires. When you change to those specific set of tires, I guess you can't really go flat out. So when you're on Inter tires, it's maybe not as fun. Where you finish is probably more important than like how fun the car is to drive, especially when you're someone like Verstappen who's trying to go for the championship.
Today was a special podium, you know, because it's one of those days that I wasn't fully comfortable with the car, especially on that first stint. Yeah, it was good to get that podium.
When you look at the fact that not only did Verstappen finish second, but also Sergio Perez finished third as well, that's also massive for the Constructors' Championship between teams as opposed to drivers. Now Red Bull are obviously a lot closer to Mercedes in that Constructors, whereas before they obviously would have been a bit more far off Mercedes.
I feel like I should have stayed out. My gut feeling was to stay, and I feel that's what I should have done. So frustrated in myself for not following my gut.
The Mercedes team wanted Hamilton to pit, he wanted to stay out. Obviously that conflict of interest. I guess Hamilton's instincts naturally were carry on driving, but I guess as a driver you also want to listen to the feedback of the team, because even though you know how the car feels, they're the ones who have all the intel and stuff like that, so naturally you trust them more, hence why he came in.
I work as a team, so did the best I could with the advice I was getting.
I think the reason Lewis Hamilton decided to listen to the team is because obviously their call last time out in the Russian Grand Prix in Sochi ended up working really well for him. Lewis's team are the ones who told him to switch tyres for the intermediates because it was raining a lot, and it was that decision that caused Hamilton to win the Grand Prix. His 100th win as well.
You never know, with these conditions it changes so much. I thought, okay, maybe the tyre will come back, but yeah, it had nothing left. So
yeah, a lot of the time with the way that the track is, you don't know whether to switch to new tyres or instead just like stick with the ones that you currently have, because a lot of the time like stuff can just change really frequently. So you may pit to get new tyres, but then suddenly the weather reverts back to how it was before, so you don't actually need those tyres.
I wanted to try because there wasn't much rubber left on the Inters, so I thought the dry is not any different or probably a little bit better because the grip is higher, but couldn't break the tire in, and then couldn't get any grip, so we lost the race today then.
To go to slick tires when it's wet and slippery on the track, kind of a weird decision. When it's wet, obviously you usually put on inters. Going for slicks is usually when the track is dry, I assume. You can see him just constantly trying to adjust the steering wheel so that he can get the car moving properly, but with those kind of tires obviously it's pretty tough to do that.
Rockstar Ozzy, please don't stop me. I drunk drive, swerving in the Mazda.